Okay, so let's begin. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar on securing your data with Microsoft Purview. For those of you who are new, my name is Danielle, and I'll be your host for today. So if you're not quite sure what Purview is or what it does, don't worry, we're here to help. We'll walk you through everything you need to know about this solution and how it can benefit your business. So in today's session, we'll highlight how Purview helps to protect your data, not only from cyber threats and data loss, but also how it supports compliance and governance, especially in the era of AI. Now let's talk a bit about our presenters today. Firstly, we have Mark Roberts. He's one of our cloud engineers here at Davyn, and he'll walk us through the technical aspects and capabilities, as well as real-world use cases of Microsoft Purview. Next, we have Shania Andel. She's one of our business development managers here, and she'll share more of the practical business benefits and opportunities that this solution can provide. Now, before we dive in, I just want to share a few housekeeping notes. Firstly, the session is being recorded and will send to all attendees soon. Also, if you have any questions throughout the session, feel free to drop them in the chat because we'll be answering them real time. If there's a question that requires a bit more detail, we'll save it for the end so we can spend some time answering it. And finally, yes, there are prizes to be won and some really good prizes as well. So be sure to pay close attention to the content that we're sharing today because we have a quiz at the end and there's going to be more than one winners. Okay, so with that said, we can get started and I'll hand you over to Shania to begin. Shania, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedules to meet with us at this webinar to talk about how we can secure your data with Microsoft Purview. Right, so just to go through today's agenda, we will be talking about an overview of Purview, what it is. We also will be going through one of its many features, information protection, data loss prevention, communication compliance, and data security posture management for AI, right? But before we get into talking about what is Purview, just by a show of hands, you guys, if you can put up your hands, let me know how many of you guys know what is Purview. You all have an idea of what Purview does. Great. Okay, you can put it down. So what is Microsoft Purview? So before we talk about Purview, as you may well know, today's digital landscape, we know that data is both an asset and a liability, especially with organizations that are navigating either regulatory environments or hybrid work models or even increasing cyber threats. We know how important securing your data is. And this session, we're talking about Microsoft Purview. So what is Purview? Purview, surface level, it is an unified data governance and compliance platform. And it is designed to help organizations such as yours to discover, classify, protect, and manage data across your entire data estate. So whether it's on premises or in your Microsoft 365 tenants or even in Azure, but it can also be in hybrid cloud environments. And as IT professionals, you play a role in securing sensitive information and ensuring that your entire data estate is compliant. So in this webinar, we will explore how Microsoft Purview integrates data governance, risk management, and compliance capabilities into one single intelligent solution. So we're going to go through a couple of its capabilities, such as how you can use Purview to protect sensitive information with built-in encryption, role-based access controls, and even automated sensitivity labeling. And we'll also go through how we can utilize it to prevent data exfiltration and leaks using data loss prevention policies across email, cloud, chat, and the endpoints. We'll also be going through how we can monitor and enforce responsible communication through communication compliance, where you can detect any sort of policy violations or insider risks, and even inappropriate behavior. And last but not least, we'll be going through how we can safeguard your data in any AI-driven environments with data security posture management. And this would ensure secure and compliant use of your organizational data by using AI tools, right? So we're going to go through scenario-driven demos and also practical guidance. And we're going to showcase how Purview would integrate across your Microsoft ecosystem to deliver zero trust aligned AI aware enterprise grade security and compliance. And so this session will give you a clear, actionable path to strengthen your organization's security posture with Microsoft Purview. Now, before we start or we show you how you can utilize Purview, I just want to show you a breakdown in how which licenses, which Microsoft 365 licenses you can use to utilize Purview. So we have Business Premium and Microsoft 365 E3 licenses, and they are grouped together because they offer a common set of foundational features, such as sensitivity labels for your Office apps, SharePoint, OneDrive, and even Fabric, and also encryption and data loss prevention, right? So for organizations that need advanced compliance and risk management tools, however, we have Microsoft 365 E5, which would provide you the full spectrum of Purview capabilities, including insider risk management, endpoint data loss protection, and AI-driven data security posture management. And so this breakdown would serve as a clear guide to help determine which license tier you need in order to align with your organization's data protection and compliance needs, right? So with that being said, I will pass you off to Mark who will go through information protection.
Hi, good morning all. Just give me a second to share my screen. Can everyone see?
Yeah.
All right, great. So good morning again. Before we dive into information protection, let's first start understanding today's evolving threat landscape and the risk associated with data misuse. So first on the screen here, you can see we have a common threat where users fall victim to a phishing attack, leading to compromised credentials. In the second option, you see data exfiltration by internal users, whether intentional or accidental. This includes scenarios such as uploading confidential files to Dropbox accounts, personal OneDrive, or even sharing via WhatsApp web. And finally, the rising risk of data exposure through generative AI tools, such as the ChatGPT, the Google Gemini, and DeepSeek, putting corporate data at risk. So labeling with Microsoft has been around since 2017 and has progressed over time, right? So the core of its solution is the data classification services. Microsoft Purview can help you classify, label, and protect sensitive data across your Microsoft 365 endpoint and on-premises and multi-cloud environments. It uses built-in and custom classifiers to apply sensitivity labels. So you have your public, general, and confidential. This can be done via manually with your Business Premium and your E3 licenses or through automatic with E5. These labels enforce encryption, access controls, and integrate natively with apps like SharePoint, Teams, and third-party platforms via Defender for Cloud Apps, which is included within the E5 license. The same classification engine supports compliance tools like Intel Risk Management and Microsoft Purview, offering a unified and scalable approach to data protection. So Purview offers the best-in-class classification technologies. So we start with 300 built-in sensitive info types out of the box and 50 plus name entities, which is ideal for identifying personal and regulated data. Sensitive info types, such as regular expressions, uses a sequence, characters, or keywords that defines a search pattern to identify data. So you can think about your credit cards, your national IDs, driver permit numbers. Those will be protected with regular expressions or regex. Then we have the exact data match, which lets you detect unique structured data like patient IDs or product codes. You have optical character recognition, goes further by extracting text from over 150 images in PDFs. You can also get tools like credential SITs for passwords, fingerprinting, or IP protection, and context-based classification to analyze file behavior. And lastly, we have trainable classifiers, which let you train your own models based on your data. So we'll jump straight into a demo. Right, so in this demo, we're going to create a label, which is a sensitivity label. We're going to do the manual way first, and then I'll show you the option using an automatic method. Right, we'll publish a label as well as just test and validate. Just note that when you publish a label, it takes really 24 hours. So it has been configured before, but I'll show you the process. So on my screen here. So I'm on the purview.microsoft.com portal. Right, you could get here from your admin center. And we want to go to solutions. So in solutions, you'll see all the available solutions that Microsoft Purview offers. For this demonstration, we just want to focus on information protection. Right, so once it loads, you would see the different options you could do. You could look at your reports, your recommendations, and even your sensitivity labels. And we'll get to policies as well. So under sensitivity labels, you'll view the current labels that you have, similar to what we've seen in the presentation. You have public, general, and confidential. So to create a label, click create a label, and we want to give it a name. So we're going to name this highly confidential. Right? The same can be done for the display name. And we want to give a description so the end users can see what this label actually does. Right? You could also put a description for admins if needed. You also have the option to put a label color. Right? So because this is highly confidential, I'll go with red and click next. Here you can define the scope for your labels. So you have files, so Microsoft 365 apps, you have Microsoft Fabric, which includes Power BI, emails, meetings, and groups and sites with SharePoint. So I'm fine with this, click next. Here you can see the protection settings that will enforce encryption for the different labels. So because this is highly confidential, I want to have control access, as well as apply content marking. In the access control section, just go through it briefly. You can see assign permissions now or let users decide. Best practice, I'll prefer to assign your permissions now, and as well as user access content expires. So you could say it could set a specific date or give some numbers. So for this example, I'm fine with putting 30 days. Right, and allow offline access. So I'm fine with putting 30 days as well. Under assign permission to specific users and groups, this is where you would have your granular control. So you could assign it to everyone in the organization. If you click on that, it will automatically add the domain here. You could do authenticated users, like your guest users, and hover over the I if you need some more information. For this example, I want to do some users and groups. So I'm fine with adding a few users here in your list. So we have Stacy, we have Becky, and we have Keisha. So click add. So you'll see the users listed here. Click save. Scroll down a little bit as well. You would see dynamic watermarking. What this does is it will automatically assign a watermark with the user ID, and you could put highly confidential as well. And you could customize the text if needed. For double key encryption, as the name suggests, it requires two keys, one from Microsoft and one from yourself. Note that once you encrypt it with double key encryption, if you're using stuff like Copilot, it won't be able to read the file. Right, so once I'm satisfied with this, I could click next. Here's where you could do content marking as well. So similarly to what we did with the dynamic watermarking, you actually have a watermark at the top, a header or footer. So you could just say important. Put that in red. Click next. So you can do auto labeling here, but I'm not going to, because I'll show you how you could do it on the outside from the beginning. For defined protection settings, you have the option to do privacy and external user access. If you have conditional access policies within the environment, let's say you only want to manage devices to access your SharePoint site, you can configure that as well within this wizard here. So for this example, I'm going to do privacy and external user access to see what that looks like. Under privacy, you see you have the option for public, private, and none. So only team owners and members can access this group or team, and only owners can add members. So if it's highly confidential, I could set to none, and I'm not going to let external user access because this is critical data. Once I'm finished, I could review my permissions and my configuration, click Create Label. So it's submitting and checking to make sure everything is okay. Right, so you have the option to publish a label now, or you could wait, right? So don't create a policy. So I'm not going to create a policy as yet. I'll show you what that looks like as well. So once your label is created, I'll show you an option of how you could do an automatic label. So the first step that I did there was a manual label process. To do a auto labeling policy, you first click the label that you want to be as a auto labeling. You create the auto labeling policy button, and it will generate the name for you. So this name is fine for this demo. It's going to validate the name, right? So this is fine. I don't need to change the name or what label is assigned to it. Click next. Admin unit is similar to an OU, so this is going to affect the full directory. So I'm fine with that. And here's where you could see where the auto label could be applied. So it could be applied to Exchange, email, SharePoint sites, and OneDrive accounts. In this example, I'm going to do a SharePoint site. And you could also edit. So if I wanted to be assigned to a specific SharePoint site, you could add the URL or look for it here. So I want to assign it to my finance team. Click done. Done. I'm fine. Click next. Here's where you could set some rules for the auto labeling. This example, I'm just going to do some advanced rules because you could see the difference between common rules and advanced. So common rules is to define one set of rules that will apply to all locations, and advanced rules is to define different rules for each location. So click next. I'm going to create a new rule. Name this rule 1. And here's where you could apply conditions. So for example, you could say that this content is a sensitive info type or changeable classifier. Right? You could do the content is shared with people outside my organization. Then you could do maybe the file extension. So because SharePoint supports Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and PDF, you could add the extension file here. So it's going to automatically label these documents within the SharePoint site. You could also add exceptions. So if I wanted to add an exception for a particular file, or if it's created by a certain individual, you could add that here. Click Save. It's going to validate the rule to ensure that it's correct. Right, once I'm satisfied with what is configured, I click next. And you could run the policy in simulation mode. So now I would recommend that you do this first to test because this is going to automatically assign a label. You don't want to disrupt your organization's policies and flows. So you could run it in policy mode, or even leave it turned off and then test it on your own. Once you finish, you click next and submit. Create policy. All right, so what that looks like for the end user, I'm just going to pull up a virtual environment. So we created a manual label. Actually, before I go to that, let me just do one more step here. Click answer. So you created a manual label and we created an automatic label as well. To deploy the manual label, you go to label policies and you publish the label. So you go through the same process of the wizard, define the sensitivity label that you want to publish to end users. So we created highly confidential recently. Click add and click X. The OU or admin unit is the same, so I'll leave that as is. And you could assign it to individual users or the entire company. I'm fine with all users. And here's where you could have policy settings. So you could ensure that the users provide a justification to remove a label or lower its classification. You could require users to apply a label to their emails and documents, as well as a Fabric and Power BI content. And you could also provide them with a link if you have a SharePoint link with some HR policies or acceptable use policies. So you could click these two, click next. Here's where it will ask you, what is the default label? So for this example, because you're only publishing one label, it'll only have this reference. So I'll leave it as is. Same thing goes for label emails. Same thing goes for meetings, calendar events. Right, click next. Default label to SharePoint sites and groups. You can leave that as none. If you have Power BI or Fabric content within the environment, you could have a default label there as well. So once you finish, you'll name your policy and it will publish. Right, so I'm not going to do this because this has been created before. And as I mentioned earlier, it takes 24 hours to replicate for your end users. So go into the, I guess, a virtual machine. I just want to show you how it looks for the end user. So I have two documents here. One is called general label and the other confidential label. Right, so I have a paragraph here about the dog and the nail and Stacy, which is the user I'm using here. You can see the sensitivity label appear in our Word document, and it will look the same across all the apps that you have the label applied. So do the drop down, you could see confidential and restricted. You won't see highly confidential because, as I mentioned, it wasn't published and it would take a while. So going through the different options, if I wanted to do restricted, you would see the dynamic watermarking that was done before. So you would see highly confidential, you would see her name and the organization domain. If I go back into the restricted, you can see view permissions. Here's where you would see some of the permissions. So if you wanted to do a step further that this document cannot be copied, printed, saved, or exported, these are set to no, and the user wouldn't be able to do that. So going back to this general, you'll see that the justification is required. So your organization requires justification to change this label. So the previous label no longer apply, click change. And you would see that in Purview where you would see the user change the label, right? One of the other things I'll do is let's simulate a ChatGPT, right? So Stacy is using ChatGPT to get some information on this document to summarize to speed up our process. Right, so just want to make sure that this is a general. So since this is general, you could see that I could paste the confidential information. Let's say it was, and let's say tell me about this document. It'll give you a summary. And we'll get to DLP protection. So this document is labeled as confidential, right? So I have some fake information here, and it's labeled confidential. I'm going to do the same thing here. As you can see, our unknown error could, and we'll get to that later on in the presentation, how because this is labeled as confidential, you start with your building blocks, right? So you have to know your data and then assign a label and then go to DLP policies where you could actually have further control. So let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. So we created a label, we define what it can do. We published label, or it was published before, show you some process of automatic labeling and test and validate. All right, so next up, we'll have Microsoft Purview data loss prevention. So data loss prevention with Microsoft Purview enables organizations to detect and prevent the unintentional sharing of sensitive information across your cloud apps, devices, and networks. As shown on this slide, DLP covers Microsoft 365 services like Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive, as well as popular non-Microsoft platforms like Salesforce and Dropbox. It extends protection to Windows, macOS, and virtual environments like Citrix and Virtual Desktop, allowing you to control actions such as file transfers to USBs, printers, and network shares. DLP also monitors and controls data movement over the network via HTTP, HTTPS, and SFTP protocols. This broad coverage ensures that organizations can secure sensitive data across critical vectors without compromising user productivity. And the latest area that we have now is AI, right? So we want to protect our data from AI applications. So Microsoft Purview enables centralized DLP policy management across Microsoft 365 endpoints and third-party apps. Role-based access controls allows admins to manage policies for specific users, like regional teams. With granular controls, you can apply different rules to USB printers and domains, for example, to block USB devices, storage devices, while still allowing corporate use. And the last option here is the policy tips. So you could have policy tips and alerts to educate your users in real time, promoting safe behavior and reducing your risks without impacting productivity. Now, I left this as 2 slides because I just want to go through the DLP policy real time with you, and I'll just show a quick demo. So we're back in the Microsoft Purview Admin Center. We want to go back to solutions, and we want to look for data loss prevention. Similarly to the information protection, it was configured before, and I'll show you how, at least at a high level, how it was configured. So under policies, you want to create a DLP policy. You'll load its template. And here's where you would see, just zoom in a little bit if you could see. Right, so here's where you would see some categories or templates. So on the enhance, you might see some familiar regulations such as the HIPAA, GDPR. Right, if you click on it, it will show on the other side. Just see. Right, so this regulation will protect healthcare, medical forms, personal identifying information, US physical address. When you're working with Purview, and when you understand what data you have to protect, you have to create these sensitive info types that was mentioned before. So in the Caribbean, you have to create the addresses for that. If you have a passport number, those type of things. Under financial, for those of you in the banking sector, you would see some familiar regulations, such as the PCI DSS, right? The payment card industry. Under medical and health, you would see some familiar regulations as well. Privacy, personal identifiable information, GDPR enhanced, just name a few. So what we're going to do today is create a custom policy, or at least walk through the wizard. So I'm going to name this custom policy 1. Click next. It's going to validate the name, ensure it doesn't exist already. Right, so you see the same admin units that we've seen before in the information protection solution. And here's where you'll see it's a little different. So within here, these are the policies you can apply to the different scopes. So you have Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, your endpoints, instances, which will be like your cloud apps like Dropbox and other third-party apps. And it would also have on-premises. You'd see a Fabric and Power BI workspaces as well as one of the new areas, which is Microsoft 365 Copilot. So once you click on that, all of the other areas will be unchecked because you won't be able to do both at the same time. I'll click next. So I'm fine with this. Here's where I can create a rule. So I'll name this rule 1, and I'm going to add a condition. So similar to what we've seen before, this would add a condition, and you could see sensitivity labels. So any era of AI, so let's say I have files that are confidential and restricted. I don't want Copilot to be able to reference it. This is where you would assign labels here. And under actions, you could prevent Copilot from processing the content, which is in preview. There's nothing else you can configure on this screen, but you'll see differences in Exchange when we get to that. Right, so it's going to ensure that it's correct and save, and then we'll go to the next page. Right. So here's where you could review your rule. Click next. And because this is in preview, it's going to automatically turn on the policy, right? So I'm not going to do that because it's already created. Next up, I'm going to show you some best practices for Exchange of what you can do with it. So we're going to go back into the custom category, create a custom policy. And this is 2, just to make sure. Next. Right, admin use is fine for full directory. So in using Exchange, it's a little different in terms of some of the developer rules that you can have. So on the conditions, you see a lot more conditions can be applied to Exchange, right? So you could say the content contains a sensitive info type, the insider risk level is high using adaptive protection, the content is not labeled, which might be useful for some of you. The content is shared from Microsoft 365. And then you could see lower down, the recipient is a member of somewhere, document could not be scanned, a sender is a member of. So for this example, we'll say content is shared with people outside my organization again. You could add another condition if you wanted to. So content contains sensitivity label, restricted, confidential, or just for highly confidential as well. Under actions, here's where you could redirect the message to specific users. So if you have your IT team, you want to send the message to them instead because it's going outside of your organization and it's labeled. You could apply a branding to encrypted messages. You could CC or BCC. You have a lot of options here that you can do. Right. So, and there's also an option. Let me just check back one time. I go back to conditions. The recipient is a domain. So, for example, if you want to say the recipient is personal, so like Gmail, right? Yahoo, you specify that as well. And under actions, you want to redirect a specific user or a specific mailbox to create an incident in your help desk management solution. You can do a lot of things with the actions here. So once you're satisfied with that, you'll click next. But before we move on, there's also the user notification, because we've seen in the presentation some policy tips, right? So you can notify your IT team or your security team, or you could notify the people who have access to the SharePoint or OneDrive that this is being shared externally. You could advise the user with policy tips. So you could customize the policy tip and tell them, hey, this is confidential information. You should not be sharing this externally. Right. This is fine. I'm not going to check this. Any user overrides. So 2 alerts happens when something like this happens. It triggers in a Defender portal because it's a part of the Microsoft ecosystem, as well as the Microsoft Purview. You would use Defender to ensure that it's not a false positive and do action. And for Purview, you'd use the customized policy in terms of any loopholes that users might find. Because once you lock down certain things, they just get creative. Right, so use email incident reports to notify when a policy matches occurs. You can turn that on, and this is some of the information that will be sent to created as an incident. So once you're satisfied with that, you'll click save. It's going to validate the config. You could review to ensure everything is fine. Click next. And as I mentioned before, please ensure to run the policy in simulation mode, do your testing, and it will also show policy tips even if it's in simulation mode. So once you click next, you'll be able to submit the policy. So I'm fine with that. So we'll jump back into the virtual machine quickly. And what we're going to do is go to Outlook. So I'm going to send an email. So Stacy, she's going to send an email to her personal email. Let's say she's exiting the company and she wants to, send some documents that she would have created on her own. She could browse this computer or even from SharePoint. We're going to do a confidential label. Give me a second. Let me pull up the other environment, the other email. I'll come back to that because I'll have to log in to show you that it's encrypted. But essentially, what I was going to show is that it's going to give you the policy tip to say that this shouldn't be sent. Try it again. Right. So the policy tip in this example is, what are you doing? Please refer to employee manual. So this is one of the policy tips that you could assign to the end user to once they have the confidential file included within the attachment. So jump back straight into the PowerPoint presentation to move on to the next slide. So communication compliance. Communication compliance in Purview is a feature that helps organizations monitor and manage communications to ensure they comply with regulatory requirements and internal policies. It allows for the detection of inappropriate content, such as harassment and sensitive information, and helps maintain a safe and compliant communication environment. It comes with built-in playbooks out of the box. So this slide emphasizes the importance of integrating privacy measures within organizational tools. It highlights the need for balanced user privacy with the necessary controls to mitigate risk. The key three features presented is pseudonymization by default, granular role-based asset control, and audit logs. So a lot of compliance administrators, once they're troubleshooting something, they may be biased once they're looking into a user. So you have that pseudonymization, so it would block it. So as you can see in the screenshot here, it doesn't give the username, right? By adopting these practices, organizations can enhance their security posture while respecting user privacy and ultimately fostering trust and compliance with privacy regulations. So these are some of the broad range of communication risks some organizations might face. So for instance, we have unauthorized disclosure can lead to significant damage to an organization's reputation, while corporate sabotage poses threats to operational integrity. And we have the regulatory compliance to help meet regulations around safeguarding data. And most recently, we have a new communication risk that most organizations are not aware of is AI, right? What your users enter into these AI apps and what attachments, as you see, in terms of that communication. Which brings me to DSPM for AI. So DSPM, or Data Security Posture Management for AI, is a feature of Microsoft Purview that helps security teams understand the AI usage within the organization to discover data risk. It provides oversharing assessments to identify overshared sites and content and offers recommended actions to mitigate insider risk. So to get started with DSPM for AI, a few things that you must be aware of. So your endpoints must be onboarded into Microsoft Purview. So if you have endpoints already added to Defender for Endpoint, it's a seamless transition to onboard them into Purview. You can do that with Intune or Group Policy. So this would allow you to protect your data from leaking into AI apps. So as you've seen before in the virtual machine, that device is onboarded into Microsoft Purview. So it would protect the uploading of your confidential information into ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Google Gemini. And you could also extend it to Defender for Cloud apps. So if you have Dropbox, Google Drive, WhatsApp Web. Another key part of getting DSPM for AI to work is the Purview browser extension, which must be installed via Intune or group policy. This will discover the sensitive data in user interactions with non-Microsoft AI apps. So you won't be able to see the prompt exactly with the non-Microsoft AI apps, but within Microsoft 365 Copilot, you would. So if you have that license assigned, if you're using Copilot Studio, AI Foundry, any Microsoft AI apps, you'll be able to see the prompts the user is entering and the response. So move on to the next slide. So Microsoft is actually the first security provider to deliver comprehensive solutions for AI, including data security and compliance, security posture management, threat protection, safety systems, and governance capabilities across the Microsoft Copilots and agents and other enterprise AI, such as I mentioned, ChatGPT Enterprise, consumer AI, and custom-built AI apps. So here's the Microsoft Purview portal for DSPM for AI. You can gain visibility into data risk, such as sensitive data in user prompts, sensitivity labels referenced by Microsoft 365 Copilot, and insider risks by various apps. The solution also provides insights from Microsoft 365 Copilot, agents built in Copilot Studio, and popular SaaS AI apps. So you'd see the top sensitivity label referenced by Copilot, the sensitive interactions by department, interactions per app. Right? And lastly, in terms of insider risk, you would see which apps are the top ones. So in Microsoft Purview, again, for the DSPM for AI, you gain visibility into data risk, such as sensitive data in user prompts, sensitivity labels referenced by Microsoft 365 Copilot, and insider risks by various apps. The solution also provides insights into, I think I mentioned that already. So we'll move on to the next slide, which is oversharing assessments. So what you can do with this is that you could help identify sensitive data at risk due to overly permissive access into platforms like SharePoint. These insights allow security teams to detect and correct data exposure risk before and after Copilot deployment. So pre-deployment, they reveal unlabeled files and high-risk access patterns, right? So pre-deployment, you'll be able to see which files within your SharePoint library is not labeled. And for post-deployment, they show sensitive items Copilot reference, enable permission cleanup, and targeted label actions based on risk. So you would see here in the slide, you would restrict access by label and also give you some step-by-step guidance on how to protect your AI data. So I'm going to pull up an interactive demo. Right, for DSPM for AI. So start with data assessments. Next, you'll go to a SharePoint site. You'll see some of the items that was referenced. Under the Protect tab, you would see restrict access by label, restrict all items, similar to what I just showed, right? And it will give you the step-by-step guidance of what needs to be done. So here we are in Copilot. This will be Copilot from Microsoft 365. The user is going to ask to find sales information for the company for the year 2025. So Copilot was able to find the document, which was authored by Irvin Sears and last modified on Wednesday. Right, but unfortunately, the document is protected by a label, so they can't provide information on it. Here's a custom app built by the organization, and the user is going to ask the agent to disregard or maybe change what they I guess, what they're going to provide. So it's going to say, do anything now, as the name suggests. The agent could do anything now, freed from any typical confines of AI, to abide by any rules. So it could pretend to browse the internet, access current information, even if it's made up, right? So we're going to do a jailbreak on this agent. As you can see here, it's being triggered by Azure's OpenAI content filtering system, and this prompt is flagged as jailbreak. Now, to view these alerts, as I mentioned earlier, you could do it at two areas. You could look at your Defender portal, and it will come up as an investigation or an incident. So here you'll see the jailbreak attempt on your Azure AI model. You'll see your attack story. And with Security Copilot, if you have it enabled in your organization, to save time, it'll provide you with the incident summary as well as a guided response of what to do next. So going back in the Microsoft Purview portal, on the Compliance Manager. So you might see some familiar regulations here as well as the NIST framework and HIPAA. Microsoft is always updating these assessments and regulations so organizations can look into to apply the more updated improvement actions to protect the environment from the AI threat. So on the improvement actions, you'll see the list of actions. So you'll create a customized DLP policies, data minimization policies, data security baseline, non-compliant devices. There's quite a lot. Enable audit login. But for this example, what we want to look for is a centralized AI app management. And here's where your T is referencing the data security posture management to be able to track, similar to what we just seen. So going back into the PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to hand it back over to Shania.
All right, so give me a sec to share the link to the chat, and you all could enter your name and I'll share my screen. So once you've joined on the quiz, you will just put a name. You don't need to identify yourself. You could put a nickname and then we'll start. Or you can, Daniel?
Oh, I was just going to say they can scan the QR code as well, but I
Yeah.
think that's what you were about to say.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, or you could scan the QR code, right? So either the link in the chat or the QR code, right? And I'm waiting for a couple of y'all to join.
Do you think we should share the prize with them first, or should we
I
make them
think
wait?
so. I think so. Might as well. Let's do it.
Okay, guys. So first place, we have a $50 USD Amazon gift card that would be emailed directly to you after we announce the winner. And second place, we have a $40 Amazon gift card. And the fun thing about Davyn is that we don't do ties. So if you tie with first or second place, you also get a $50 or $40 gift card. So good luck, players.
Right. And the thing about this quiz is that the fastest person, the way to win it, the answer has to be correct, but you have to answer it within a short space of time. Right. So we have 15 players ready. Waiting. Do I need to wait on anyone else to join? Right, let me give you all 2 more seconds and we'll start. All right, so we have 16. All right, 17. So a couple of you are still joining. I'll give you all a few seconds. Anybody else?
Yes, we have one more. I think one more just messaged me.
Okay. All right, I'll hold on for the one more. Okay, we have 18.
All right, I
So
think we should be good to.
So
Oh,
that's it.
okay.
Oh, 19. All right. Ah, so we can go now.
Yeah, I think we can start.
I don't want to leave anyone behind. All right, we'll start. Okay. Wait, hold on. Right, let's go. First question, what is the primary risk when a user falls for a phishing attack? Dum, 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 dum. All right. So, user credential compromise. All right. That. What is the role of the rights management service in Purview? All right, so correct answer, encrypt data as a result of classification and labeling. All right, let's move on to the question. All right, what is at the core of Microsoft Purview information protection solution? All right. Correct answer, data classification services. All right, let's go on. All right, you ready? Question 4. Microsoft Purview DLP can protect which type of device environments? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's see. All right. Correct answer. Windows, macOS, and virtual environments. Okay. Let's go on. Question 5. All right. What is the purpose of policy tips and user notifications? Is it automatically delete files, educate users on security best practices, or disable user access to files? All right, correct answer. Educate users on security best practices. Next question. Almost done. I'd like to see the leadership board.
Same.
What classification method uses keywords, regex, and dictionaries to identify data? Is it named entry entities, OCR, sensitive info types, or context-based classification? We have a doozy here. All right, so its correct answer was sensitive info types. All right, let's go. Okay, your company is concerned about AI data related data security risk. How does DSPM for AI help mitigate these risks? Does it provide visibility into AI interactions and prevent exposure, or does it block all AI activity by default to prevent security risks? All right, so correct answer provides visibility to AI interactions and prevents exposure. Right, so this is the second to last question, guys. All right, let's buckle up now. All right, let's go. What type of risks can Microsoft Purview DSPM for AI help identify? All right. So everyone got this correct. So I'm
Well
assuming the
done.
last question you're gonna get correct as well. All right, and selected fast.
People
Okay.
are paying attention. I love it.
Yeah. All right, next one, last one, right? Make sure to answer fast. A security team wants to track non-Microsoft AI usage in the organization. What prerequisites should they configure? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see. Wow, yeah, this was a
Whoa.
tricky question. All right, so the correct answer was install Microsoft Purview browser extension. Yeah, as a prerequisite. Okay, so let's go to the leadership board. Drum roll, please. All right, so here is the leadership board, and we have the fastest is CJ. Can CJ identify themselves? Seems as if we have the fastest one.
Colleen John. Wow. If
Ah, all
I'm,
right. Congrats,
yeah.
congrats. All right, and we have in second place would be Chad. So Chad, identify yourself as well. Yeah. Okay, Chad. Right. So Daniil,
Wow. You know what's crazy? Both
what's that?
Colleen and Jason have won in previous webinars as well.
For real? Okay,
Yeah, they
all
have.
right. Okay, all right. So it was two persons you wanted, right, Daniil? So we have two
Yes.
persons.
2%. Yes.
Okay, great. This was really good. Daniil, I'll leave it back to you, right?
All righty. Yes. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. We are at the end, but one more thing before we go. 1 second. So Colleen and Jason, you guys would receive you'll receive your gift cards later today or probably tomorrow. So if you've seen anything today that you're interested in and you want to book a consultation with our team just to see how Purview could work for your company, you can scan this QR code, which will take you to our website where you can book a consultation directly from there. So I'll leave the screen up for a couple seconds, or you can send an email directly to Shania. She just put her email address here in the chat, and she would liaise with you and the team to get that demo and consult sorted. So again, guys, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for participating. You always make these sessions so fun for us. And we hope to see you guys soon. If you want to attend any more webinars in the future, you could check out our website and you'll see the dates and topics for our upcoming webinars. So thanks again, everyone, and you guys have a great week ahead.
All right, bye guys.
Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone.